Hello and welcome to Howard's Horse Handicapping. This is Howard Kravitz. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you had a great week. The first thing you do is make sure down below you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please also, I want to hear comments and see your comments underneath the video so we can improve the channel. I love to hear from you because this is going to be a fantastic video that you're going to see today. So let's talk a little bit about last week. Before we do that, hopefully this is the last video that you're going to see that's a little bit goofy with the technical issues. I'm going to be getting a professional mic, also working on some other things. And so hopefully this is the last time that the video won't be quite as perfect as I'd like it to be. Let's talk about last week quickly. I had 2 picks on my channel. Started off the channel with a great success, had a pick 4, a $64 caveman ticket, and it hit for $440. Hope you guys have that. And then I talked about the late pick 5 on Saturday Gulfstream. Had a tough one there, had a horse, Pacific Gale, I never would have had. So that bet didn't come through. When you bet pick 4s and pick 5s, you're most likely going to, frankly, lose more of those bets than you're going to win. But here's the key. When you hit, you need to hit big. And that's what happened last week for us. So we spent 132 on one ticket, 64 on another, and those were just caveman tickets for 196 of a cost, but got back 440. So again, you need to be patient. Again, if you play pick 4s, pick 5s, you're probably going to lose more of those tickets than you win. Don't get frustrated. The key is when you hit, you need to make sure you hit big. So let's talk about today's video. So a lot of people were asking me, Howard, how do you handicap a race? What goes into a race? Now, there's a lot of really good handicappers out there. There's a lot of good programs and software that you can get to handicap. Today, I'm just going to show you what I like to do. Again, there's many different ways to do it. I don't have all the answers, but I have had a lot of success. And if you really want to do well in horse racing, you definitely need to take time and handicap the right way. So I'm going to show you the process that I use to handicap a race, and it's going to be mainly through the lens of Daily Racing Form's Formulator PPs. So we're going to take a look at that. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you what's on the agenda for today, which we'll do right now here in just a second. So as I'm setting this up, you're going to see what the plan is. Again, just bear with me here a second, and you'll see what we're going to be doing. So the first thing we're going to talk about, let me grab this for you. So here's our plan for today. Let me just get this up for you. Sorry about that. And I had it ready for you, but disappeared on me. Okay, so let's talk about what we do here. So here's our plan for today. And this is gonna be a little bit of a longer video, just to let you know, but I think it's important to talk about it. So how do I handicap a race? We're gonna go through quickly, very quickly, through Drf Formulator's program and its features. And then we're gonna talk about a race that happened Sunday at Gulfstream, race 6. We're gonna talk about race flow, buyer numbers, which is what I like to use personally. We're going to talk about class. We're going to watch a replay or 2 possibly, and then we're going to talk about angles. So these are the things that I go through every time I want to handicap a race. This is what I look at in order to do that. So first, let's take a look at Drf Formulator. So Drf Formulator is a great program that I like to use. And again, you can buy this through Daily Racing Form. Now, I just want to make this very clear once again to everyone. I do not work for Daily Racing Form. I don't get any money for suggesting you buy this. This is just what I like to do and what I believe is best. This works best for me. So, very briefly, as you can see at the top, you can see that the condition of the race, that it's a mile race. We're going to look at a mile turf race. This is $20,000 claimers down to 16 claimers, non-winners of 2 lifetime, that's that N2L. Again, some of you already know this, some of you might be a little more beginners. I'm gonna try to play this somewhere in the middle. You can see where they start the race. It's a pretty short run to that first turn, and it's firm conditions. All right. Now, there's a lot of really great features you can use Drf Formulator for. Anything you see in blue here, blue handwriting or blue fonts, are active links that you can press and see what happened. For example, you can take a look at the site. You can press Temple City there, and you can see what happens. You know, I need to go to another program. Sorry, a second. Let me go back to this. I had to go to my interactive link. Okay. So again, anything in blue you can click on. So for example, I can click on Temple City there, and you can see here's Temple City. These are all, this is the record. So Temple City has had 555 offspring. So he's has 555 horses that would call Temple City their father. You can see race records, all sorts of things, statistics, etc. And then here are the past performances of the sire Temple City. And so this was a very talented horse, obviously. You can see the buyers are excellent there, involved in graded stake races all over the place, mainly long on turf. You can also, for example, look at trainer situations. So if I click on Edward Pliza there, a junior, here's his stats. You can see his all-time stats there. You can see his most recent races are there. And you can also do a lot of the things, like, for example, if you hit the customize button there, there are all sort of things you can break down by many different categories, and you can look and see what else you might want to take a look at, which we'll also do a little bit later. Now, the other thing I really like about Drf Formulator is if you look on the left side in blue here, if you press the December 20th on the left side, it says December 20th. If you click on that, this is Diligent's last race. So here's the standard chart, or what happened in Diligent's last race. And here's what I also really like. If you look here, these are all the horses that were in the same, that were in the race that Diligent just ran. And if you see the darker, bold names, those are also horses that are in this race today. So when I see there's 4 horses that were in the race last time that are in the race today, that means I'm definitely gonna watch this replay and try to compare Share the Blame, Diligent, Bad Boy EJ, and Maverick Kitten, and see how they compare to themselves. Also, anything in italicized Beat Catcher, that means Beat Catcher won his last race. So that also is a good indicator how strong the race is. Now, the great thing, there's race replay, and you can click on the replay there, and we can watch the race, which we will watch, not this very moment, but you can watch the race also. So there's a lot of great things you can do, and we're going to be talking about all that as we go along. So that's a very, very brief look at Drf Formulator and some of the things you can do. You can also, by the way, take notes of either what you see or what you're going to see. If you see there, it says notes sort of in the middle of the screen. And if I press notes, you can, there's a drop down, you can add a note for the card, for the entire Gulfstream card. You can add a note for a trip that the horse got, or you can just add a general note about the horse. So there's a lot of things you can do there also, which we are also going to do. So there's a brief history or example of what happens with Drf Formulator. All right. Now, let's take a look at our agenda here. So we're going to look at the race. The first thing we're going to take a look at is what I look at first usually, which is race flow. How is the race going to be run? So I'm going to click back to this feature now where I can actually write and highlight in here. So if you look at the race, you will see that there are Timeform US pace figures at the top here. You see them right here that I've highlighted. All right, so the higher the number, obviously the faster or the better number there. So you can buy Timeform also. A lot of people like to use Timeform also. And what Timeform US will do is at the top of their past performances, they have sort of a square there where they write the chiclets, and you can see what they believe is going to be the fastest horses early and how it's going to set up. So for example, they might have an 8 here, 1, 4. I'm just making this up right now. Maybe 3 is a dead closer. Of course, the horses are going this way. So that means 8 is projected to be on the lead. 1 will be in second. This is just their expectation. It is based on real data. They're not just guessing. But here's the issue. A horse might stumble. Horse might get bumped out of the gate. The trainer might tell the jockey, let's not go to the lead this time. There are a million factors that could occur. It's not set in stone. And Timeform also will tell you, which I don't usually use, but it will tell you if they expect a very fast pace, a very slow pace, something in between, etc. So, all right. Sometimes it freezes up on me there. I apologize. All right. So we're going to be talking about race flow and a bunch of other things also. Let's see if I can go back to that. All right. So when I look at this race, one of the first things I do is I try to figure out what the flow of the race is going to be. So when I look at Diligence here, he's got a 94, as you can see. That's usually, for this class, it's pretty quick. As you scroll down, you see El Solitario, only a 70. And you can just scroll down, etc., and you can take a look. And Bad Boy EJ, 58. As you can see, Maverick Kitten, 56. There's 73, 59. So far, the one is the highest. Share the Blame, 54. King Otaka, 78. Where you going, Owen, 83. And Emoji Guy, 74. So first of all, what that tells me is it's not a very fast pace situation. There's no horses that have in the hundreds. And not only that, but it seems to favor the one in this race because the one has the fastest figs for the early pace. So that tells me, I'm going to keep in the back of my mind, that Diligent should be near the lead and projects to get a pretty soft trip because there's just not a lot of speed in the race. All right. Which means, of course, that also tells me that this race is going to be hard to close into. So any horse that has speed, I'm going to automatically upgrade based on that. Buyers. Now, I like buyers. You can use Ragzins, you can use the sheets, Timeform US numbers. There's Equibase numbers. There's a lot of different speed figures that you can use in order to look at a race. So certainly one size does not fit all. I prefer buyers. After I try to develop the race flow, I then take a look at, just scroll right down the PPs and ask myself, who has the best buyers, who's improving, declining, expecting a forward move, etc. So let's take a look at that. So the buyer figs are right here. It's this first column. You can see there's 70 and 67 most recently. This horse has got only 60, 59, etc. And again, you can just look at all these. I'm not going to highlight all of them, but you just go down the PPs. You can look at who's fastest, etc. There's Maverick Kitten. He's got pretty much high 60s, pretty consistent. Doesn't look like that horse is getting any better. Again, mid 60s, has a 170. Okay, not bad. Riggins is interesting. Has some numbers that are okay at back numbers, but recently, you take a look at his recent efforts, they don't look too good. So I just quickly looked through that. Share the Blame has got some good numbers based on this race, 72, 74, etc. King Otaka has some big numbers. It's got 78, 278, 83, and 79 back numbers. This horse clearly has some of the fastest figs, etc. And you can just look at all the races there where you're going. Owen and Emoji Guy, again, appears to be a little bit slow right now. So that's the next thing that I look at. Okay. Now, who's expecting a forward move? That can be tricky. That takes years of experience to look at, but it is something that you need to certainly understand and work on. So when I look at this race, I ask myself, who's going to improve? Well, in my personal opinion, you can see that Diligent here is very lightly raced, only 6 starts, as you can see there at the top right, and it looks like he's improving. So to me, I'm going to put an arrow up there, meaning I think this horse is going to continue to improve. It's just a guess. It's like the stock market. You're trying to figure out what is going to happen in this race today. El Sartario just looks way too slow. Bad Boy EJ, a little bit up and down, but again, looks too slow. I probably wouldn't even consider him. Maverick Kitten, consistent, but really not improving. So I just keep in the back of my mind, it's a horse that I'm probably not going to use too much in the race, depending on the situations. Montauk Summer is interesting, extremely light raced, only has 4 lifetime starts for an excellent trainer, Christopher Clement and Louis Saez. But numbers appear to be a little slow. Maybe a forward move. This would be a question mark. Really not sure what to do with this horse. I'll have to look more in detail. All right. Then you've got Riggins, who looks like he's declining. So I'm not sure he's going to take a forward move. I'd probably put a down arrow there, meaning I don't really like the way that he appears to be moving right now. Share the Blame is pretty much, he is improving slightly, but not very much. He's staying about the same. And then King Otaka. So he is off a layoff. He hasn't raced since August 7th. So it's really hard to know what he's going to do, but to expect a big forward move seems unlikely. He's probably going to run somewhere in the low to mid 70s. I think you could project, which in this race is clearly good enough to win. Where are you going? Owen, again, looks way too slow to me. Emoji Guy is very lightly raced, but has a lot of improving to do. Doesn't look like much of a factor. So to me, the 10 right now looks like the best horse in terms of the numbers. The 1, to me, looks like he could be ready for an improve. We'll just have to see and look at other factors. All right, class. Who's rising in class, who's dropping in class? So let's take a look back. We'll take a look. Now I just literally just go right down the PPs. I'm gonna move things along a little bit more here. And again, remember now this is a 20 claimer, non-winners of 2. So the 1 was in the same class, but he is improving. This 2 has been in the same class. Again, the 3 has been in the same class for a long time. That's not a good sign. The 4 has been in similar class for not quite as long. The 6 is the question mark. This horse was in a main special weight, is dropping a little bit down from 30 claimers, so he certainly could be live. Riggins was into big time races in terms of class earlier in his career relative to other horses in this race, but he was in the same class last time, didn't do anything at all. Share the Blame has also been in this same class multiple times, which is never a good sign, in my opinion. And then you get to King Otaka. Look at King Otaka. In terms of class, absolutely lays over the field in terms of class. You can see here, It's got allowance races, optional 25 allowance races, was actually even in a grade stake race in 2019. This horse is by far the class of this field on paper. Where are you going, Owen? Again, same class level, not much. Emoji Guy is dropping down a little bit, so you could say he's interesting, maybe has upside, but seems very slow right now. So based on that, you'd have to say 10 is clearly the class of the race. Replays, who's coming out of common races, who has treble trips? Replays, folks, are huge. You need to take the time and watch replays if you can. Now, I mentioned that Diligent, and how do you know, by the way, who is coming out of what races, etc.? You have to look and see, because it's not always easy to tell, but obviously you're looking for the same dates. I see December 20th there, and there's another December 20th, oh, that was a different race. But Bad Boy EJ is coming out of the digital footprint race. Anyway, you take a look at the dates and you see, okay, there's 4 horses coming out of the same race. And when I click on the date there, you can see, and I mentioned this already, Share the Blame, Diligent, Bad Boy EJ, and Maverick Kitten are all coming out of the same race. All right. Now, let's take a look at the replay so we have a better understanding of what to watch. So Drf Formulator will do that for you. And the great thing today is if you look on the right side, you see Share the Blame is the 1 horse in this replay. Diligent's the 2, Bad Boy EJ's the 4, and Maverick Kitten is the 11. So what you want to do is watch for the 1, 2, 4, and 11 in this race. The 1, 2, 4, and 11. So let's see if we can get this to work here. All right. Sorry about that. Oh, first time. So let's just go watch the 1, 2, 4, and 11 here. So what I see right away is the 2, Diligent, has speed. Got out of the gate well. Again, we're looking at the 1, 2, 4, and 11. Now, what I noticed right away, and I'm sorry for pausing it, but the 11, who's Maverick Kitten in this race, is already in the 3 path, already a little bit wide. You never want to be wide on the first turn in a turf race. Meanwhile, 1, Share the Blame, is saving all the ground on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. So the 2 got the first quarter in 23 and 2, and the half in 47. At this level, that's a pretty decent pace. Not only that, he is facing some pace pressure on the outside. I noticed the 11's in between horses, a little bit hard to tell. You can watch the video on your own in red and white. You don't want to be in between. So right now, Maverick Kitten, the 11, has been 3 wide and has been between horses. The 1, meanwhile, Share the Blame, has got an absolute dream trip, no excuses on the inside. The 2, of course, is Diligent, who's setting a somewhat pressured pace. And the 4 right now is at the end of the screen there, back, saving ground on the inside. So let's stop it right there. So Diligent went 3/4 in 1:10 and 3. Now, Gulfstream can be a bit speed favoring, no question about it, and is a pretty fast turf course. But for this level, that's pretty fast, 1:10 and 3. And he's had to be used pretty hard to get there. So this has not been an easy trip. The 11, by the way, is swinging on the outside in the red and white. Had a little bit of trouble in terms of the trip, in my opinion. The 1 is a little bit hard to see on the screen there. Is second from the inside and about 6th or 7th with the, I believe, like the green silks. And the 4 is behind him trying to close also. And I'll just go ahead. Let's just watch the stretch. So there's the finish of the race. And what I want to show you is the 2 ends up finishing, I believe, 5th there on the inside. The horse just to his outside, which you can't see right now because of the play arrow there. That was the 1 who was making a nice close, finished 4th. However, did get a perfect trip and a pretty good setup the whole time. The 11 and the 4 both can be further back. I'll just let you play. I'll play it out here. So there's the 4 and the 11. They were just finishing. Again, the 4 made no threatening move whatsoever. I would definitely not use the 4 in this situation. The 11 looked like the horse just, the rider sort of pulled him up. Probably can race better than that. So the 11 would be a bit interesting to me. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me a few things. First of all, let me back up here. So again, what that tells me, what I read from this, in my personal opinion, is you have to upgrade the 1. The 1 got the lead, but was setting a pressured pace the entire time, went fast. You can see the fractions say unavailable there for his last race. Let me go back and use these past performances where I can write in this. And again, I apologize for the little bit of a delay here as I'm using a program called Notability. So what that tells me is Diligent to me is better, definitely better than, again, who else is in this race. So definitely better than Bad Boy EJ, who was the 4 in that video. And in my personal opinion, he's better than the 9. The 9 in this race, go ahead. So excuse me, there's Maverick Kitten. Maverick Kitten, by the way, is the 11. The 4, who was the 11 in the replay, a little bit interesting. So, you know, I would put, in terms of the replay, maybe an upgrade question mark, depending on what you think. The problem is the source doesn't seem to be getting any faster in terms of his buyers. But the 9, who I'm going to again scroll down to here, Share the Blame, who was the 1 in the race we just saw, I personally would downgrade this horse based on the video I just saw. Again, you have to watch a lot of replays and be used to it, know what to look for, etc. It takes a lot of practice. So next to Diligent, I'm going to write in, and I'm just going to hand write this in just for my own personal notes. I'll go ahead and put this in a different color. I'll go ahead and put this in purple here. I would say the 1 over, and I put a little O, that means better than the 4 and the 9 and probably 11. These are all the horses that are, excuse me, not the 11. It's going to be the 3, 4, and 9 are coming out of this race. So I think this horse is better than the 3, 4, and 9 in this race today. Just my opinion based on everything I saw. Now, another thing that you're going to want to look at, and let me go back to the replay because it's very important to do that. So let me go back to the replay here. If you go back, and look at the replay, here's the chart of the race that we just watched, okay? And what you're going to notice here, and I can't use my pen right now, so you got to look carefully, but if you look in the column all the way on the right where it says finish. So digital footprint, obviously one, beat catcher second, shining through third, share the blame fourth, one jack fifth, etc. But look at the quarter time. This is where the horses were at the first quarter. The horses that came first, second, third, and fourth, after the first quarter were fourth, fifth, eighth, and ninth. What does that tell you? That means the race sort of fell apart and it favored closers for sure, as you could see on the video. That means you should upgrade speed. Well, Diligent was the only speed horse really that was up close and hung around. So again, upgrade Diligent in my opinion. Okay. So now, we talked about all that, trouble trips, etc., replays. You can look and see who has trouble trips. Let me just go back. There are short comments that I think most of you know about, of course. And if you look at the form, you can see all the way on the right side there in the blue are the short comments. You see bumped start, 2-3 wide driving for the second one back. So looking at the short comments, let me just go back here. And no, can't get it up here right now. But anyway, looking at the short comments is another way. If you see a horse with trouble, you definitely might want to watch those replays also. Now, trainer angles, jockey changes, layoffs, that's the last thing that we're going to take a look at. So this race does not have a lot of those. However, there are a few things worth noting. So I'm looking, one of the first things I look for is see if there's any jockey changes in this race that might be of interest to me. And just scrolling through, Bad Boy EJ has a jockey change to Corey Lannery from Miguel Vasquez. Not too much of a change there. So there's really not much to look at from a jockey perspective so far. Montauk Summer, let's talk about this horse for a second. So this horse, which a lot of people would use, and this horse in this race ended up being 5-2. So he was second choice in this race over the 10. This horse cost $130,000. Decent sized price tag, well bred. This horse was in for 30. And now the connections are just pretty much giving up on this horse and putting him for 20,000. That is a bad sign to me. I know it's Clement, I know it's Saez. The horse could win, but I do not like the drop down in the situation. It just seems like they're giving up on the horse. To me, that is not a good sign whatsoever. So it's probably a horse I would use, but not as strongly as some other ones. Another angle that I like to look at is their record. Now, Share the Blame looks decent on buyers. However, if you look at his lifetime PPs here, you look at the top right, you'll see that he's 1 for 15. And although he's been in the money, he's definitely not a win machine. That was the 1, by the way, in the replay. So I'm a little bit negative to the 9 also, because it doesn't seem like he can clear his condition. I don't know if this horse is improving, and he goes from the rail to the 9 hole, and he's a closer. So there's a bunch of things that he's sort of against, in my opinion. He's 9-2, but he could win. But to me, not quite as likely. Then you go to the 10. Now, the 10 is dropping down. He was the favorite in this race. Seems very logical if he's ready off the layoff, and you could look at trainer stats. But here's the big difference between, for example, the 9 and the 10. The 10 is also only 1 for 9. All these horses have only won once. However, this horse has been facing much, much tougher. So if he's ready, you have to figure that this horse appears to be ready to win this race, even from the 10 slot. So after looking at all that, here were my final picks for this race. So my A's, my top choice would be the 1 and the 10. I put a star by the 1 because I really like the 1 quite a bit in this race for a lot of reasons. He's not going to be the favorite. Projects to be on the lead or very close to the lead. Got a pressured pace last time. Should be slower this time. Could be improving. I use 6, 9 as B's. That's the Montauk horse, and the 9, and also the horse that we discussed who had the 1 in the replay. And then 4, 7, 12 you could use defensively, but I don't think they're really likely winners. Now, let's go and watch the replay of this race and actually see what happened. And let's take a look at the results. So let's watch the race. I'm just gonna let you watch it and then we'll comment afterwards. Now, at this point, I thought the 1 might have the lead, but he's sitting a perfect trip on the inside. The 10, the favorite, showed more speed than I thought. And you can see the other horses there lining up. You can see the chicklets at the bottom. Just for full disclosure, I made a decent sized win bet on the 1. And if you look at the odds there on the screen on the left side, I was shocked. The 1 was 7 to 1. I loved the odds on this horse. I couldn't believe I was getting 7 to 1 for the reasons I mentioned. The favorite was King Otaka at 2 to 1. Montauk Summer was the second choice, the 6 horse at 5 to 2. And the third choice was Share the Blame, the 9 horse in this race, who again was the 1 horse in the replay race that I didn't especially like. So of the 4 top choices in this race based on my handicapping, the one I liked the most was the biggest price. I was looking my chops. Our sound disappeared on us, so I'll just do a little amateur race calling here. But again, the big bomb was on the lead. Where are you going, Owen? The chalk King Otaka was on the outside. Maverick Kitten, who was the 11 in the replay race, showed more speed, which was somewhat predictable to me only because he was rank. And remember, that was the horse that was 3 wide. So you see the 1 getting another great trip. Maverick Kitten's been wide the whole time. And King Otaka takes over. Montauk Summer, the 6 on the outside. And here comes Diligent, splitting horses, getting a nice trip. I thought I was going to get there at the 1. Oh, brutal beat there in terms on the win end. So that was unfortunate. We're going to go back here again from the top of the stretch. The 1 bumped a little bit with the 4, but really overall got a nice inside-outside trip. I thought he had a chance to run down the favorite here. You see 12 on the inside. And as they approached the wire, it was really close. And the wire was just before. They just couldn't quite get there. So the final results were right here. So King Otaka won. Diligent ran a nice race in second. Montauk Summer third. I played a nice exacta box, 110, and the dollar exacta paid $28.80, which I was really happy with. So I had that several times. I missed on the win end of the one. I also had the trifecta, and the 50-cent try was decent, $54 for 50 cents. So overall, that worked out very well for me. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about here is what you can do in Drf Formulator after the race. So now that the race happened, you can do this after the race. You can make comments. So I'm going to go down and make a few comments and just show that you can do that also. So if you go to notes, the first thing I'm going to do is do a card note. If you've been watching, and you can write anything you want, the turf has been very firm. So I'm going to write that turf very firm favors front runners. So, and you just press enter there, and that goes in. Now that will go in there. So any horse coming out of this race, when they race again, you'll see that in the comments that this was a card where the turf was firm and helped speed. I'm also going to make a note here on Diligent. So I click over to the right, you can see there. I'm going to make a note for Diligent. He did get a perfect trip, and I say P/T inside, if I can spell, inside, angled out, just missed. Now, going forward in the next race, I'm probably be against Diligent because he did get such a great perfect trip and setup, etc. So I'm not going to press enter there. So anytime when Diligent comes next time, I'll see that in my notes that this horse got a perfect trip, was inside the whole time, angled out. I might downgrade next time. Again, every race tells its own story. Every race is situational. It's really hard to say what's going to happen from race to race. You just have to see. So, folks, I hope that helped. That's generally speaking how I go through a race. Now, this race worked out very well for me. Of course, not every race is going to work out the way that I expect. I lose races all the time, just like everyone else. But if you do your homework and do the correct handicapping, and there's just an example, it will definitely help your winning money going forward. And you'll see reasons why horses maybe will run very well or outrun their odds, as opposed to horses that don't do as well, who are lower prices, who the public thinks should run well, but they won't. So I hope that helped. Please look for a video very soon, later this week, regarding a pick 4 or pick 5 coming up this weekend. Once again, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You hit that notification bell. Anything you saw today, please make sure you comment down below. I'd really like to hear what you have to say about my personal handicapping, how you like to handicap, any great strategies you have. Let's share our opinions and let's just all get better and better together. Thanks for joining me. Take care and good luck. Bye-bye.